Hey guys, Argent Templar here with a reactionary review of Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. Now, I should state not all of these are really about like far-right politics or reactionary stuff in general. For time to time, these are just kind of like normal movie reviews with a summary included. I will try and talk like more about like themes and maybe like the genre and stuff like that. These still will take like aspects of the character profiles and things to that respect. But there's not always like something explicitly political that can be said, and there's really no point in doing what the left does and taking something that isn't. Like if it's something like City of Bone, there is explicitly political aspects to it, explicitly liberal aspects to it. Harry Potter is explicitly political. Other things are like explicitly religious in nature, and there is something that can be said about it. For something like Paranormal Activity, I don't really have a lot of political stuff to say. So I'll more probably just talk about horror genre, what I thought of the movie, what were some good parts, what were some bad parts, and kind of just the meta game of it. I've also decided today or tomorrow, depending on when I have time and when I'm not busy, I will try to do a retrospective of the Paranormal Activity series, trying to summarize the plot from of the first five movies. I don't know how long that'll take. It's very difficult because they keep changing the canon. The canon just kind of like keeps shifting, and I don't really buy that they knew like what was going to happen in the sequels when they made the first movie, etc. So, Paranormal Activity: Ghost Dimension, rather short film, only 88 minutes. It was presented in 3D. I can't see 3D myself. I don't know if it's just my eyesight. I do have stigmatism, which I wear glasses for. I don't know if that's the reason why I can't see it. My eyes aren't really that bad, though, other than stigmatism they correct for. Like, the actual vision isn't good. I just say that because I don't like 3D in general. I think it's kind of gimmicky. I don't really find it really is even noticeable. It just kind of makes the film blurry and harder to look at. And it just makes the film more expensive. So this opens with the ending of Paranormal Activity 3, um, where we have Katie and Christy watching Dennis, who is the main character of Paranormal Activity 3, have his spine crushed by Toby. Toby's the name of the demon. We don't really know what his real name is. Maybe it's like Tobias or like to- Tobiel or some kind of demonic name. I don't know. Um, But yeah, so Grandma Lois takes the girls upstairs while the unseen force takes the camera with them. They go into a room and encounter the leader of the cult from the previous Paranormal Activity films, who talks to them about Toby and how critically important they are to his plan. This plan doesn't make any sense. It's not really adequately explored in this movie or in the previous movies. This movie was billed as being the last movie in the series, but it didn't explain shit. It didn't explain shit. It just raised more questions. It just kind of screwed it up more than it already was. So 25 years later, we are introduced to our cast. We have I'm just going to refer to them by their role because it's just like you never learn characters' names in horror movies. So there's the father, who is a wealthy video game designer. There's his wife, who is a practicing Catholic. She's a very attractive, slim woman with very dark red hair. She's eye candy. There's her sister, who's also eye candy, who's kind of a very voluptuous blonde who wears very short shorts and low tops. I say this because even bad horror movies are often watchable. I don't know what it is. They seem to just find like the most beautiful unknown actresses for horror movies. Like I find the average like find to be in a crappy horror movie is much better looking than like the mainstream actresses, and this movie is no exception. So we have the father, the mother, the aunt, and then we have the father's brother, and I'll just call him the father's brother. The aunt is the sister of the mother, and then they have a little girl who's a beautiful redhead. Um, You all know I have a thing for redheads, though I don't have a thing for children. But um, I'm not some kind of pervert or anything. But she is beautiful, and I kind of want to hug her. It's kind of sad that that's a reflection on society that just wanting to hug children makes you some kind of creepy pervert. But I'll quit while I'm behind. So it turns out the father's brother has come to stay with them over the holidays, and he's kind of a deadbeat loser. As part of the background story of this, he was apparently dumped or something. This is never really explained or explored later on, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. So as he comes by, they notice that the daughter is talking to an imaginary friend named Toby. Yes, this is the same Toby from the previous movies. It's pretty much kind of the lamest name for a demon possible. So they're searching through the house and they find a box of old videotapes from the late '80s, which contain Christy and Katie and Dennis, who's the leader of the cult. Um, and they're practicing their supernatural abilities with the man. One of as they're watching the videos, they notice that the little girls seem to be aware of their presence. Now, this is kind of something they only explored in kind of the later Paranormal Activity movies, particularly the marked ones, that the demon is able to travel through time. This concept was really only introduced in the marked ones, which isn't even really a numbered entry into the series. And I just don't like time travel. I think it's bullshit. I think it really just kind of like fucks up the movie. I think it just kind of adds this unnecessary complexity, especially in a franchise like Paranormal Activity, where time travel just isn't really part of it. It's kind of supposed to be low horror, I guess, kind of like more subtle, and it's like demons moving stuff around and stuff is kind of like one thing, but to get really overtly supernatural kind of defeats the entire purpose of surrogacy, if I can quote from another bad movie. So yeah, so they're watching it. In one of the videos, the father and his brother notice the girls are aware of their presence. They refer to two men in a room, and they describe the room that they're in. Let's see here. I guess talk about the characters a bit. The father, I don't know if he's joking or not, but he has a VHR player so he can watch his father's old porn. He apparently watches it a lot when he has like a gorgeous wife who appears to be like sexually frustrated because he's like, I don't know, he's like watching some shit on TV and she's like, come have sex with me, and he's like, oh, okay, and he seems upset that he has to go have sex with his hot wife, which is just kind of the way men seem to be in movies. It's just, I don't know, he's just kind of beta. And I mean that in a negative sense. Obviously, not all men can or should be alpha men, but just, dude, stop watching fucking porn and go make love to your wife. Stop being a fucking degenerate cuck. Well, at least she bore him a gorgeous redheaded daughter. Anyways, so they find the box of tapes in the camera. The camera is able to see the supernatural, which is something that I think was in Paranormal Activity 4. I didn't get through Paranormal Activity 4 because it was one of the shittiest movies I ever saw. It was absolutely horrific. The only kind of good part of it was there was kind of like this really cute, kind of absurdly gorgeous blonde girl, and she kind of had this relationship with this slightly kind of dorky guy, and it was kind of endearing. That was the only good part of it, but the hot blonde and her kind of cute teenage romance didn't save the movie from being a boring shit pile. As I'll talk about when I review that, which is gonna be tricky because I couldn't sit through it. But yeah, so they find the camera. The camera picks up spiritual beings. Now, this appears to be some kind of ploy by the cult. They've deliberately left the camera there, and they've deliberately left the tapes there. Because, as the priest later describes, demons become stronger when you pay attention to them. They feed off of human fear, they feed off of human will, they feed off of human attention. So all this stuff is here so that they will investigate it. And the more they investigate it, the stronger the demon becomes. And the stronger the demon becomes, the more it can do to draw their attention. And it kind of becomes this feedback loop, making the demon stronger. The cult and the demon are pretty confident that they will not be able to solve the problem, even if they can figure out the demon's end game. Which, of course, they are correct. So let's see here. Um, so strange things start happening around their house. Their daughter just acts weirder and weirder. She tries to bury the mother's rosary and cross out in the yard, which is kind of nice to see an overtly religious character for once. She also tries to burn her Bible. Now, this is kind of a random game changer because religion's never been a theme in the paranormal activity movies. There was briefly a cross in the first movie. It didn't really seem to do much. Whether or not religion actually hurts the demon is an interesting question, because in this movie the demon appears to be kind of afraid of it, at least afraid enough to get his the girl he's possessing to go and do stuff on his behalf. But even though he kind of does that, when they actually bring in a priest against him, it doesn't really seem to do much. So yeah, so let's see here. So they begin to see strange things happening. They place the camera in her room and they see a dark demonic figure standing over her bed. I like how they did the demon. He kind of looks like a big thing of tar that forms into like a humanoid shape. It's fairly scary. The special effects in this movie are a lot better than the others. This is more the most like kind of a conventional horror movie out of all the films. So yeah, the special effects are good, and that's something at least. Okay, so let's see here. He interviews. Um, so they try to get her to promise to stop talking to Toby, but their daughter just doesn't listen to them. So they do the logical thing. Now, what's interesting at this point in time is between the tapes, the camera that can pick up the supernatural, their daughter's strange behavior. The family is actually smart in this movie, and they're like, "Well, it's pretty clear it's a demon. It's pretty clear it's some sort of supernatural entity." Like they just show the mother the tapes, and everyone looks at the tapes. They're like, "Yeah, that looks like a demon to me." The daughter's clearly acting weird. If we put all this stuff together, like there's just no kind of like in a lot of cases, the characters display an absurd degree of skepticism. Like demons will literally start eating people, and they'll be like, "No, the supernatural doesn't exist." But in this movie, they're just like, "Yeah, the supernatural definitely does exist. That shit's definitely happening to us. We're gonna have to do something about this, or our daughter's gonna be in trouble." So they do the logical thing, and they call in a priest. He interviews Layla and attempts to kind of bless her with some holy water. Sorry, Layla's the daughter, but the girl attacks him and starts trying to rip at his throat. So Todd is the priest is convinced that Toby is a demon linked to a cult called the Midwives. Now this is finally we have a name to the cult. They're called the Midwives because what they do is they do elaborate rituals to have children born to selected families. Uh, and the children are kind of born under special circumstances. The mothers are former members of the cults with their memories erased or something like that. The idea being they'll give birth to a child that will be sacrificed to give a body for a demon. So they're the midwives because they play midwives to demons. So Ryan researchers and realize the cult has killed a family in Nevada related to a boy named Hunter who was born on the same day as the daughter. This is, of course, referring to Paranormal Activity 2, where Katie killed her sister and her sister's family and kidnapped their daughter, kidnapped Hunter. Hunter also shows up in Paranormal Activity 4, and he is meant to be the host for Toby the Demon. So yeah, so as they're investigating this, one night their daughter makes a kind of a doorway on her wall using various occultic symbols, and it opens a doorway to another world, aka the ghost dimension. Which would be cool if it was hell, especially given what happens later in the movie, but it's not. It's kind of a portal into the past, um, as it were. So yeah, so it leads her to an open doorway to another realm in which she disappears. They eventually manage to find her and flee with her to a hotel. So the family's once again doing the logical thing. They figured it out. They didn't have undue skepticism. They went to get a priest. Now they're getting the fuck out of the house. And they tried to get their daughter to stop talking to Toby. So they're realistically kind of doing all the stuff they can do at this point in time. My only criticism was be they probably should have gotten a gun or something in case the cult came back. Like even if they defeated Toby, it could be like one of the previous Paranormal Activity films where the cult kills them. So let's see here. So Father Todd comes back and attempts to cleanse the house. He attempts to trap the demon using the Key of Solomon, which is basically a Star of David. Upon which he begins to provoke the demon. He uses. It's kind of funny because I was reciting the prayers along with him because he uses the standard prayers. The Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now at the hour of our death. Uh, O my Jesus, save me from the fires of hell, forgive us our sins, and lead all souls into heaven, especially those most in need of thy mercy. And of course, glory be to the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, as it was, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. So yeah, he starts using those. They actually did authentic Catholic prayers, which is nice. He has like holy water. He has a crucifix. He reads from the Bible. It's not a bad scene. So the idea is they're gonna provoke the demon, trap him in the ceiling circle, and then they have a sheet that has been soaked in holy water, and they're gonna throw it over Toby and hopefully burn him to death. So they attempt to do that. Um, Father Todd gets killed though. While the demon's trapped in the circle, they do manage to throw the sheet over him, and it appears to be having some sort of effect. Eventually, the demon vanishes, um, and the daughter returns to normal. Thinking the ideal is over, the aunt begins to vomit blood um, all over the brother, but the blood kills him um, by burning through him, leaving him a mangled mess. Needless to say, both the aunt and the father's brother die. The rest of them begin to flee away, but the father is killed by tentacles as it pierces through him. The daughter sprints away through the portal in her room, with the mother following after her. They go back in time to 1988, where they find a young Katie. Katie basically tells her it's too late, the Dark One is here, implying that somehow the ritual has been completed. They confront a human version of Toby, so they finally see that the demon is alive. Um, the demon we don't actually get to see, we just get to see that he's some sort of tall man. We only see his feet and hands, we don't actually get to see him. When it was promised we would see what Toby looks like, but we don't get to see what Toby looks like. So the mother gets her nat snacked by Toby, um, and then the daughter walks off holding the demon's hand, presumably to join the coven. So what can we say about this? Why was the daughter needed? Why were Katie and Christy needed? I guess Christy was like going to be the like fulfiller of the cult's will, and Christy was destined to bear the cult's will because she was going to bear Hunter. So did like Hunter go back in time, and then they used his body to fill Toby? What happened to the leader of the cult, the weird guy with the ponytail? Um, why was the daughter necessary? Why was Katie necessary? Why is there time travel in this franchise? Um, does this mean they've changed the past? Like, was Toby alive the whole time? Was he a character in one of the other Paranormal Activity movies? Did Toby coming to life undo everything that happened previously? I mean, I don't know. Like, it's hard to even explain because this is time travel. So I don't really know when the present is. Is the present day? Is it 1988? Is it 1992? I don't know. And that's kind of the problem with this movie. It promises to answer all the questions, but it just further develops the bizarre theme of time travel that I thought was just something they were experimenting with in the marked ones, which isn't even an official Paranormal Activity movie. Um, but no, there's like full on time travel in this movie, and you're like, well, what the fuck? Why is there time travel? Why is there all this bullshit going on? Why is any of this happening? And I can't really answer you. This movie, which is the sixth movie in a series that's been going on for a long time, and when I do my retrospective, I'll talk about this. This franchise really has kind of been a part of my life for a long time. The only one I didn't see in theaters was number four, just because it looked that bad. But I remember watching this back when I was in university, the first one, and it really got me into horror movies. I really liked it. The film has a horrible rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It just it's just I think it wasn't a bad movie. I think it had a lot of good aspects to it. I actually thought the characters and kind of interpersonal relationships in this one were a lot better compared to the previous movies. I liked that the family was smarter. The father was a likable character. The wife was a likable character. The father's brother was kind of like quirky, and the aunt was kind of like a hippie who got destroyed by her own stupidity. So I mean, like it had good things going for it. They actually brought a priest in for once. They actually kind of started to kind of unravel things. It was kind of an interesting reversal, but in the end, like all kind of cliche horror movies, they can't for whatever reason ever have the people actually get away. Even when they do the right thing, because I kind of feel like if the people aren't fucking stupid and aren't immoral, then they should be allowed to get away. Because to me, that's kind of like horror movies are supposed to be kind of karmatic and kind of punishment wise. And if the people don't do anything to merit punishment, it kind of defeats the purpose of the movie. Um, Unless you're kind of going for a Lovecraftian thing where evil's all powerful. But I don't know if I've ever exactly gotten that vibe from the Paranormal Activity movies. A lot of the time, it's due to just the stupidity of the people. So I don't really know what to say. The movie didn't really resolve anything. It raised a whole bunch of new questions. The fact that this is the final installment is an insult to fans of the franchise, to people who have patiently been waiting since the first movie to figure out what the hell's going on. Um, I don't know if I would recommend seeing this. I don't know if I would recommend not seeing this. It's just it's kind of weird. So, okay movie. Certainly not bad. Certainly not good. This is Argent Templar signing out.